the Special Bylaws Committee meeting, Saturday, December 15th, 2018. Let's take the roll call quickly. Eric Previn, here. Brian Carroll, excused absence. Barry Johnson.
Here.
Nancy Kramer.
Here. Where's Barry?
Jeff Carter.
Happily here.
Happily present. Peter Cole.
Also happily
here. Patrick Lewis. Excused absence. Okay, and we do have, that is the roll call. Update from the committee chair. I'm going to go out of order or give a very brief update so we can take a public comment from Mr. Niederberg. Richard, the floor is yours.
Very simply, they made it absolutely clear that there
Sorry, who's they?
What?
Who is they?
The city clerk's office, which controls what we do.
Got it.
Unfortunately. I'm not saying they should.
So not the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, you're talking about the city clerk.
The neighborhood empowerment is more or less given all their control. Because you control the money, you control everything. Too. Essentially that's the way life is. Well, most things, okay? In any case, they said basically there's to be no bylaw changes, operating, or any other changes whatsoever prior to the election.
All right, let me see that thing.
What?
This is he's just handing this out.
Oh, is there a letter from them saying that?
No. At the meeting, they talk in real life, Oh,
they just gave their usual presentation. Okay.
Changes, they're going to entertain no change at all.
Right.
So whatever you have and you don't like, you're stuck with until the new people are at least seated.
When is the election?
They didn't use the word seated, though. They said after the election. But I assume they meant seated. And that's basically it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the comment.
I've heard, I know your consideration about the 10 and 5 and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But that's not going to happen for this election.
Well, but you can submit changes that they can act on the day after the election.
For example.
Yeah, that's very true. But you can't.
You can't expect a change.
They want the new people to vote on it.
I was going to keep
Mr.
my
Carter.
mouth shut as long as I
Nope,
could.
you can go ahead.
But I can't help it. When is the election?
Okay, May 16th, 2019 is the proposed date.
A year away?
No, 6 months.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Close enough for
5
government
months.
work. They put this in writing?
They've told us a long time we can't change your bylaws.
But is it in writing?
That's a good point.
Well, that came up at the last meeting, and we're gonna have to get to the other stuff in a minute. But I just want to let it say that it's on the record. As to just refresh the memory for the committee, last time Brian Carroll did some research and looked up and could not find the actual document that says that. So there is definitely the feeling that there's a moratorium. Nobody is going to dispute that. Who's sober. Right. Today, but that said, as Mr. Johnson pointed out, there's nothing that prevents us from moving forward diligently in anticipation of that moratorium lifting either the day after or at any other date. If they decide to lift the moratorium on the day, 2 days after,
what was announced by the person that controls.
No, and I appreciate that. We appreciate your bringing that.
Who said it?
Do you have a name?
I forget what her name is. Other people may know it. Basically, she's the new head of the financing part of the neighborhood council. She has to approve all of the expenditures for other than things like
Can you find out
food.
her name?
I'll see if I can get her name, but
it's fair enough. Okay, and that's great. Money out of politics.
Look at it; it won't get approved.
If we have to have an election without the money,
well,
it's going to be hard, but we'll try.
Okay.
If it ain't in writing,
the volunteer brigade. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Carter. Do you want to be recognized?
Also, they've done free work to come up with. You can get on their website. There's a new website, and you can have them do art for you. I'm not saying we need them or want them to do art for us.
Now we could evaluate that piece of art, do a little critique, but it's submitted for the record. Be the change in your community. Run as a candidate.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it free? They do it for free?
They do it for free because they're already paying for it.
And they print them?
But no. This is just the artwork.
Trying to get
I got you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Niederberg.
This is from Creative.
Yeah,
okay.
We're
So,
count men.
Yes, we are. So moving on now to public comments from anybody else. Barry, you're in the committee. So Nancy, everybody here's in the committee.
I wondered where
we have no more public.
No more public.
Okay, but it was good that we had one for a moment there.
Yes.
And we'll see if others show up. But for the moment, let's move forward. So I wanted to just respond to the idea of what's been said, and I think we already did, so we can just move forward, which is that we know that they are not enthusiastic about changing things for this time, and obviously we're worried about doing it the way we did it last time. So that's the two sides of the discussion. And we're going to try to be as clean and ready on Monday morning for any relief in this area, and that's the whole point of this exercise. I agree with those who have said we don't want to rush this process, and I think that that's why what we've presented, which is by moving the everything that's not required to be in the bylaws to the operating procedures, is a defensible strategy. I think that benefits people who agree with all the minutia or disagree about the minutia, but we all agree that it's easier if we as a board can make changes as opposed to have to go through the craziness that involves the layers. So, Mr. Carter.
I would only excuse me, and I'm fairly sober. Only kidding. I would only suggest that the president and the chairman consider a letter to wherever he was that says, we understand that someone said something about changes, but we would like a written document that states it in writing and is signed by an officer or agency employee with authority to sign it, say it, and issue it.
Okay.
Because right now, my view would be, it's meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
It says,
It's never meaningless. They don't have to have something in writing. They can just not do it.
Well, there has to be a motion
well, I'd like
that they voted on, or a document
done.
and ready.
Done.
Yeah.
Does this come from done?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all I'm saying is I would push back a little bit.
I would push back after they say no. I would
That's
do that letter
defensible.
after
I mean, that's a
they say
reasonable
no.
point. We don't have to, you don't have to.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I understand
Just
what they're
submit
saying.
it, expecting it to
They're
be approved.
saying, ask to substantiate. Peter?
What you're saying is absolutely true, because when I, after the last regime here, and I dug in and just to figure out, to demystify the process of posting and all these other things, I had to interface with Dunn. And there were things that they said no, and I used those words, where does it say that? And there was some silence, and then I received a call back, well, I guess it's okay, because it doesn't, it's absolutely true. They need to put it in writing.
They can.
Okay.
they
Well,
may
I
back
certainly
off.
am familiar with the technique of requesting, slightly challenging without being improper. So we can do that. I mean, that's not.
Can't
that's
you
not
just
inconsistent.
email Gracie and say, is this
That's
true?
right.
And if
That's
she
right.
says yes,
Now,
that's your
is it true? Where
documentation.
does it
Well, I think.
Don't ask for
Yeah, I
permission
don't-
to make a change, though. Find
Right.
it when they say no. Do you understand the difference?
Submit it
Right.
before the
I've
election.
already done that in the
Yeah.
past. I
And
asked
let
for
them
permission.
say no, and
Yeah.
then say, where's your authority for saying no?
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable question because I think stakeholders want to know. I mean, Brian,
They
who's new
expect
to
us.
this, came in and he asked and couldn't get anything. We had several activities since then that are all related, and nobody other than Niederberg is confirming that somebody in funding is saying, "Oh no, there's no way." You spoke to John Walker, said there's no way. So we understand, but we want to
Who
see.
talked
But John
to
Walker's not
Gracie?
going to put. Yeah, but he's not going to
Yeah.
put it in writing.
No.
Right. So and just
He
to be-
wasn't looking for it
I know,
in
and just to be
writing.
clear about why it's an issue. I mean, I'm assuming that people can understand why it's an issue, but the whole point of these committees and the way we vote as a group, and then we vote, and is, and what we're battling about is a little bit about autonomy. So it's okay to be asking for the line to be clear, and they can ask about, So that's what I think. So I will accept that. Let me see. This was in the category of talking about Niederberg's report.
Right.
So this is a response to that, and I would make a request that we draft a letter to the general manager and the clerk asking for clarification and substantiation, and they will either provide or not.
Or, as you said, submit it, let them say no.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And then put it in that letter.
And then write the
Okay.
letter.
Okay. That may make sense. I like that better. Yeah.
You
good
don't
idea.
ask permission.
But they may not say no. They just may not communicate at all.
Well, then,
But
that's
but-
even better.
Yeah, because
that
they
gets
Say, we've
harder
heard
and harder.
nothing from
Right.
you, so we're proceeding as we said.
yeah. That's what I suspect they'll do.
Well, that's
they'll
fine.
just get it
It's like
and do
the Cuban
nothing.
Missile Crisis. Ignore the second communication, which in this case is no communication.
Yeah.
And it, I use
Kind of like the Cuban Missile
well,
Crisis.
I use that to analyze a lot of stuff.
No,
It usually works.
It's appreciated. It's
All right.
appreciated.
So-
Okay, so fair enough. So we will not send a letter. We will just proceed, but keep that letter in mind because it's an excellent letter and reply. Okay, so moving on to the discussion and review of the draft that was submitted via link to our whole community called the review of the bylaws and operating procedures. And as I mentioned earlier, there was an exercise that mostly involved taking out from bylaws and putting into procedures whatever is permissible according to our understanding of the rules. So I looked it over. I have copies for those who didn't bring ones if they want to flip through. If we want to flip through, I thought, I didn't want to go crazy because I know that this is dry, and these are not official documents until later, but I thought it would be good to have a
okay.
copy for each of us.
Thanks. I was going to look on the phone, but this is easier.
Are we getting into the meat of the document?
We're going to. I'm going to offer people the opportunity to go in there.
You wrote it, so you
No, I need to change some things. We need to.
Yeah, that's my point.
Oh, this is beautiful.
So, is that, and Peter?
Can I just take the lead for a second?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm one copy short.
I'll just take a quick look
I
and
don't
give
know
it
that
back.
I need it, actually. I don't know.
But this doesn't show what was changed.
So,
That's what she's going to talk about.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so the process that I did with this was in writing the bylaws, anything that I thought should be taken out of the bylaw.
Recording of the meeting. It's the budget meeting of Saturday, December 15th, 2018. We are here at CVS Radford Lot at 9:30 a.m. in the office. Present, Eric Previn, Barry Weiss, here.
Here.
Yep. Rob Schiller, excused absence. Richard Welsh, excused absence. Patrick Lewis, excused absence. Mr. Niederberg?
Yes.
Richard Niederberg is present. We will begin now. So, call to order. That was the roll call. Update from the chair is, thank you for coming in on a weekend. These are mostly run-of-the-mill business. We're just going to, the one issue that I do think requires a little bit of discussion, I'm glad that Richard attended the election area, is because there's an upcoming election later in the year of 2019, and we want to
Change
just
the
make
rules,
sure that
yeah.
we have done the right thing. I will get to that as we get to that agendized item. So there are public comments. That's my update, so welcome. Public comments from either Mr. Cole or Barry Johnson, who is attending today.
Not a word.
Nope. Okay, not at this time. Great. The treasurer's report, we're going to take at face value, which is a link to the agenda, to the budget, because the treasurer does not appear to be here. To be fair, this came up late, so, I understand. I think that there is money in the accounts. We have been spending at the rate we've been spending. This budget committee has been identifying those costs, so we've seen very little go out the door. But to refresh the memory, we had those open forums, which they were under budget, but in the $600-700 range. We had several homeless committee costs that were all small, in my opinion, several
Which I got to
hundred.
discuss also.
Yeah, we can get over. But so that's my for that. Now, moving on to item 5. This would be the budget requests that have come through since we last had a budget meeting and are aiming at an upcoming board meeting. So if we are inclined, we will look at these and decide. The first one is 5A. This is a Friday night forum-like idea where we cover the cost of a security guard and some refreshments and have a meeting at the local library. It went very well during our election time. Yeah. This is a little bit of the same kind of idea because it has a complicated campaign finance ordinance. We roped a council member in to join us to explain, and hopefully we can get more as we move forward.
Can you get Paul in it?
Yeah, Koretz has already agreed.
No, not Paul, the other Paul.
Krikorian?
Yeah.
We can approach Krikorian, we can approach others, exactly. It's really a question of their expertise, because these folks, the reason why we targeted, and I like that term, Bonin and Rue, is because they have written extensively about campaign finance in their motions. So that was the idea, to get them to come down.
Nice.
Are they being cooperative? Let's see. And we can move forward, but we are. I think we should approve the expense with the idea of doing it in early January.
Yeah, I move so.
Okay, moved by Mr. Weiss. Second. It's unanimous. Okay. 5B. It came to the attention of the committee that the business cards need refreshing. And rather than separating out who and who doesn't, we'll just get a set of business cards. Because I remember from the last time there were only about 50. So that was modest, I would say. For some people like to hand them out. I still have most of mine. Do you have any comment? Sure.
Yes, I do.
Comment from the public.
I don't think you should just buy them for everyone. We have people on the
Who already have them.
current board who have 6 months to go,
Okay.
who probably aren't going to run again, and are doing basically nothing now.
Oh, good
and there's
point.
no reason
Okay.
they need a card. If
Well,
they haven't
fair
asked
enough.
for it in two and a half years, they don't need it.
Mr. Cole.
Second, 50%. I mean, as far as making a judgment whether they're doing or something or not.
I think they should ask.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Right. I'm just saying
Got it.
a lot of people, why buy it for people that are doing nothing and may not run again, unless they ask.
I used up mine, didn't ask for any more. I mean, it seems to me that there's so much potential abuse in somebody's hands. I think it's really weird. So,
Well, I don't see why not if they ask to get them cards. That makes sense,
Well, you can't
What they
deny
do with them,
it.
you can't tell them what they can do. They're
Yeah.
elected by the community.
It's funny because you have the card, yet nobody's asked for the little badges. We haven't had those in 2 or 3 years.
Well, they're kind of outdated. Actually, cards are almost
That's
outdated,
okay.
but anyway.
Any
long as you
other
considered it.
commentary on this one? No? Well, I would say I like the
up
idea
to,
of being
so-
modest. So I think that on request is appropriate. Regarding Barry's assessment of the performance of different board members, I know he didn't name anyone, which was appropriate.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I think that is, though true, I think that if somebody requests one, even if they have not been non-performing, they probably should, because it's part of the glamour and burden of having to serve a third year this time. So maybe.
Well,
that
and
would
then
be-
we're not making a judgment.
Exactly.
Nobody's making a
right.
judgment call
That's
on
right.
them.
So on request, we will place an order up to 450. That would be the amount if
So I
everybody
move-
placed an order, but we
Okay.
won't go that high.
I move
Okay.
on that.
Okay, fine.
Okay,
Mr.
about 10,
Wilson.
12 years ago.
Do you second that? We have to move forward.
Yes.
It's unanimous. Fine.
Please.
Hold your thought for 1 second because we just get through this and then we'll do the.
It's right on the
Okay, it's
point.
right on point. Go ahead. You're.
Okay, about 10, 12 years ago, they gave people cards with just the name and the fact they're a member. The second round of cards came with something saying also, if you were a chair of some committee or vice president like that, was on it. Are we going to make a decision at all, or just let somebody else worry about it?
I think they should worry about
No,
it.
I think that the president has to decide when somebody submits a request for a business card what's appropriate to go
I'm
on
just
it.
saying what's
and-
going to be on the card.
Right.
The price of the card is probably the same.
Yeah, I think if you're the chairman of the Who's You What committee, then you get that should recognize that because we're all volunteers.
That might be a problem in your case because you're on so many.
I'm not requesting cards at this time, but I am requesting. No, I am. I'm not.
You have a double-sided card.
Let's stay on. Well, you're disrupting the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, 5C is election funding. This one we may need to spend 5 or 6 minutes
Okay.
because it's an important issue, and I'll set the table and then you can discuss it. Okay, I don't know. I remember from the old days that it seemed high. It seemed
I have
high.
fresh information on this.
Okay, well then why don't you make a report and we'll go from
Okay,
there.
I went to the bank meeting, and of course, one of the big questions was, after the presentations were the election, basically, and the funding, all that kind of stuff. My specific question was, are we going to be required to spend like $9,000 like we did in 2016? And the answer was no, there's no requirement you spend as to 1 penny. As long as you do some outreach, it doesn't have to be dollar out.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. So I appreciate that's VANC. And VANC, for those who don't know, is the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils, a group of neighborhood councils in the Valley who are powerful and influential, and they have their opinions.
And
Sometimes we agree with them, and
city
sometimes we agree with them, and sometimes we don't. But I definitely appreciate that information because that's what I heard also. And I'll just get it on the record that I said, Gibson, what are you recommending for election stuff? And Gibson wrote back, what are you recommending? And I wrote back, this morning, I haven't heard from you, so I'll just take it from there. So we have wide latitude to do what we want. So let's just cut into how we want to do it and what we should talk about for now. I think that a number like $5,000, inclusive of, first of all, the one question that comes up before we talk about a number is, previously they kind of charged for their city staff at a rate that was murky to me. So do you know what I'm talking about? In other words, some of the money would just be relieved of our budget and go into done in the, let's say, $6,000, and then another $2,000 would go to the banner program, and it was not itemized very carefully, so we're all just pawing. But we know, because we're local community leaders and we've been around here for a while, how much it costs to print up flyers and how much it costs to run advertisements on Facebook and all that. And we know that you can blow through several $1,000s without making an enormous impact. But our goal is to really make a great impact if we can. So I'm more interested in open, cool ideas about how to spend election money up to a number, and then maybe we could hear from those people about what those great ideas are and approve them as we go. So that would be my idea. But go ahead.
Is there going to be a committee that focuses on say an ad hoc committee that works just on the election, or is that who's it going to run that election?
That's a good question.
Because that would be really ideal if we had a committee or ad hoc committee that said, okay, here's how we plan to run the election,
Okay.
and here's
The city clerk's office is asking for one contact person.
Yeah.
You know, and of course there's a lot of resentment, people saying, why do we have to have somebody run against us? And the answer is, well, you don't really have to do that. As long as you do get the word out there, you don't have to do any of this kind of stuff.
Can I say something?
Mr.
You said
Cole.
a lot of resentment. So what is that coming from? That's coming from this board, that people have said that, or that's just legacy talk?
No, that's just from, at the bank meeting, people were object to the fact of having to pick up their own competitors.
I don't understand that.
Okay, I understand that. What Mr. Niederberg is talking about is that when you have an election and you're an incumbent and you're a seated person, some part of your responsibility, like for example, Niederberg and I are incumbents.
Right.
We are charged with sort of putting a RFP out to replace us. So there's that. It has occurred to people over the years that the people who are promoting that you could run and sack Niederberg once and for all after 14 years of dedicated service, you could take him out. Yeah. Those people are not being notified robustly because they don't, because he's the notifier. So you get the idea. So it's kind of like, so how can we in a way take the burden of educating new people about running for this kind of an office to Peter Cole?
This is sort of outside the view of this committee, though. That's like once a committee, because this is, I don't know what because I don't keep up on this stuff, what the Dunn or whoever's running, the city clerk's running the election. This is just a systemic problem, how they've set it up. So this is outside, you're just talking about $5,000 and Patrick or somebody's got to set up a committee to do this, and then there you go.
That's right.
I believe there are fixed costs associated with doing in other words, having the clerk's office come down or done or whoever. That's a fixed cost. You can't avoid it, no matter what. Too bad. So I think that needs to be covered.
But we've asked what that cost is, and they haven't articulated that. So
it'd be nice to know, but I don't know that it's our place as a budget committee to determine that.
Taking money that was originally set for the electronic voting, and they say they're going to dump some of that money into the.
Yeah, but that was $215,000 over 10 to be divided back to 99. So that amounts to about a couple thousand extra in our budget. If they give it to us, we'll see if that happens. We'll see if that happens. Well, look, I think a couple things have been brought up: the ad hoc possibility, the approve 5,000 and have the president appoint someone to deal with it possibility. And I think Niederberg and I have both reported that we reached out to the city and said how much, and they said it's up to you. So that means they're not charging us, because you can't send someone a bill if you're going to, if you don't tell them how much. Now they say, well, of course we do, and we will. Is your point? That's what they do.
I think there's
you have to expect that, right?
And I think if we start to say, because we're not here to determine how the election's going to be run and that kind of thing, but we're trying to get money going and get this thing going. If we say up to 5,000. That would probably be a good start for whatever committee then is working on it, and they could request.
One of the things, though, is that they made it very clear they want the money used to promote more candidates, not necessarily more voters. That's exactly what they said.
Well, so that I think is again part of the ad hoc committees and the responsibility, not the budget committee.
No, I think it's all of our responsibilities. The budget committee's only responsibility, in point of fact, is to approve an expenditure and make a recommendation because the board.
Who's requesting this? That's what I would want.
Well, it's being requested by who's requesting the cost of
the money.
Well, I got something in the mail in the way of an announcement saying, be sure to make your election approval.
Oh, okay.
And so I wrote to Gibson and said, how much? Expecting I'm a good, diligent soldier. I'm not looking to.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't know. What do you think? And we started playing that game where nobody wanted to state a number because they want us to go as high as possible or as low as possible, or they don't care. Peter Cole.
There's also this thing sitting in the closet, the new website that nobody's used. So if somebody wants to take that and ignite it and figure out how to use that is
it's an interesting idea, right?
So as far as like having to spend $8,000 or whatever, I mean that's a good tool, but it's not being used.
Let me make a point since nobody appears to be paying attention to our activities at all. What if we were to say, let's take the entire budget of the neighborhood council and push it over to election outreach, tune up the website, and prepare to go over the cliff like lemmings after we set up a reasonable process. Hi, Nancy. Good morning.
Good morning.
We're in the middle of a budget meeting, so please feel free to. No, you can sit down. There's no problem at all. It's a public meeting. Just wanted to let you know.
I like
we'll be with you shortly.
I like your idea of spending as much as possible to get the biggest bang for our buck for this election, because this is probably the one of the most important, especially if our people are going to retire from the board and we need to fill positions. I don't know how much that's going to happen, but for goodness sakes, so we do need to get candidates in the sense of, oh my gosh, we need worker bees.
Correct.
First of all, and then second of all, it would be great to know that whatever happens is how many people vote. We've done as best as we could to get the vote out.
I love that. Well,
it seems to me though that spending the kind of money we did last time on the election form was, to me, outrageous with photo opportunities and the food. Seemed like it was in NPR 9. Seemed like that was proportionately too much money spent.
Well, I think it was allocation matters. We had very expensive artwork that was not distributed in a way that was accessible. I think the software was lacking, meaning the ideas were not quite in place. So maybe with some of the streamlining that other committees have been working on, maybe there's a way to really roll out an exciting election time where we become the almost non-recipient worker bees to promote a great election. But maybe not. But we can bring it to the board, and I think that rather than bringing a low number to celebrate the idea of doing a good job, let's bring a higher number.
Aye.
I mean, people can say that's outrageous, but we should do that. So you say you like that idea?
Yes.
Anybody else have a comment?
$42,000.
Hey,
Yeah, I mean, or how about the remainder?
what else are we spending our money on?
The
We don't have any
remainder.
requests.
The remainder is too high. How about 10,000 as a courtesy to the public?
Why don't the original proposal 5,000? We can always add to it. If you remember what the budget was on our summer carnival, it went up quite a bit.
So I think since what's on
I'll
the
go
agenda
for
is
it.
5, we should look at that number to start with and encourage more spending rather than less, like you're saying, because again, it should be a big deal.
Yeah.
Good point.
Also, there is
One
recognition.
second.
I was thinking a good point on that is then you could actually spend money on an outside source that is disconnected from this, so the board members don't have basically.
No, that's a good point.
You could hire an entity.
If they're affordable, yeah. Kellyanne Conway, perfect to get her in here, but
The whole
But I
idea
agree.
of hiring
Very
people for anything from neighborhood councils is not in the spirit of the volunteerism
That's
in
the next
neighborhood
item.
councils.
Yeah.
True.
And we should not be hiring anybody. We
so
should be
I think
doing it ourselves.
I agree that
That's the next item.
This
You're-
is a conflict of interest, though. This gets
Okay,
over.
so
No,
I
not,
would
not
move
if
that we-
somebody like me does it. If I'm
you
not
volunteering?
running, I'm not. I'm just saying, if you have somebody that's involved with the neighborhood council but not a board member like you or me,
I'm not doing it,
but I'm just saying.
and you're not doing
no,
it.
Barry
but
makes
we
a good
haven't.
point.
We haven't
Yeah.
gone out and solicited
But-
either.
So I'll move that we fund initially up to $5,000 and communicate that there is more funding available, depending on how we want to, how whoever
Well-
wants to run the election runs it.
The other thing also is, if we're ever asked about what's been basically, count the money of the multiple slates. That's the biggest engine for producing fair elections, is, or having at least open elections, to have these multiple slates both distributing the materials. They love that. The state attorney loves that idea of having the competition like in a courtroom, having multiple slates.
Okay. So I've heard.
And they spend money.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So I would again move that we approve up to $5,000 for, which is on the agenda for
I second that.
funding.
okay.
And it'd be good to communicate, hey, we need an ad hoc committee to do this, and we want a good election. We really
We
do.
need to
Okay.
have one
How much
contact
does the
person.
mailing cost to everybody in Studio City?
Hmm?
That's a good question.
What's
How
that?
much is a mailing to
It's
every
expensive.
address?
So
Very
we
expensive.
have approximately 30,000 people that we would need to mail to. Say 18, let's just be realistic, 18,000 voters on our rolls right now that voted. So that's a lot of money. It's 50 cents a piece just to say to mail to them, unfortunately.
155 in stamp rates.
It's going up to 55 at the end of January.
Yeah, I mean, there is an every door direct, which is the U.S. Post Office. It's like, I think, 18 or 20 cents a piece.
That would be worth
But they
it.
Which-
can't get into a lot of these farm buildings.
Yes, they can. With every door direct, they do.
By
Yeah.
mailing you.
They mail to every address. They don't name who's at that address, but they mail to every address.
I would like to
We can
receive one
specify.
of those. I'd like to receive a postcard that says this is the date of the elections.
So we
And
can
Yeah.
look, we could have whoever's doing the committee look into that. That's probably the most effective, especially we have our email list.
Yeah.
But we all, and those are the most engaged people, I
Let
would
me ask
say.
you. Let me ask a question on the what Barry said. So if it's really about notifying people that it's happening, what if our neighborhood council agreed to, walk a little bit or do a day where we, print up and go out and become the. I'm going to be sacked for bringing this up, obviously, because it's a good idea, and yet nobody wants to do
I mean,
this. kind
farmers
of thing.
market's an obvious
Right,
place.
but we all, become political when we're fighting for something that we are passionate about, but is our neighborhood council something that we're passionate about? People say maybe
I
not.
don't think they'll do it, unfortunately.
This ties into 5D.
It does.
Sorry, I'm gonna just that laser focused on that.
Okay, let's move to 5D because 5C
So do we-
is,
do
we
we vote
resolved
on
5Z.
5C?
Yeah, you
Okay.
moved and Niederberg seconded
Yes,
the motion
okay, sweet.
to approve
All
up to
in favor,
5,000 or more, is
Sweet,
more or less what you were
sweet.
saying.
Okay.
This absolutely
okay.
should be scrapped. This was brought up by somebody, as Barry said, that it's not in the spirit of the neighborhood councils.
Right.
If I was cared what other people think, this is such a slap in the face to what I contribute and to what you contribute.
Mhm.
I mean, I spend money on this.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't know how much money you spend. A massive amount of time.
Yeah.
This is insanity. This is somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's arrogant. It's disrespectful to the people that.
To have somebody come in here and clean this up?
Not yet.
Did
I
it.
mean,
Very good.
It's already,
Oh,
he did
it's
it.
already been
Did.
done.
You did that. Oh,
No one
somebody
asked
had
them.
written in asking to put on the agenda, the possibility of approving money
For a
to
housekeeper.
a secretary to clean up and file. But
Oh,
Barry took
I
care
see.
of it.
I did it
You
in
know,
conjunction with the Luminaria. Actually, when we
Did a good job.
loaded stuff up, we took some stuff out of here to storage when we picked up the stuff to go to the Luminaria. So it just helped. It was crap that had been in here since the picnic.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, I mean, I think we vented on this, and that may be what we needed to do.
Well, I was going to take that to storage, and then I thought there'd be such an uproar that I didn't.
Leave a note.
My popcorn machine's down there. My
Yeah.
snow cone machine's down there. Why can't that be down there too?
Well, it can still go.
I
There's
mean,
a lot of
you're not trying to
exciting,
be,
exciting
So
revelations.
it's not
coming
really
out here.
necessary, is it?
No, it's not necessary. So we're gonna say no thanks on this, and we don't need to bring it up again. But at least we gave it fair consideration, and I mean, that's called
think so.
receive and file, right? So there. Okay, so we will make a recommendation on A, B, and C for the record. We made those motions. Okay, comments from members on matters within the committee's jurisdiction. So that means pretty much, do we have anything to say it's your turn to say something as a committee member about stuff that we are involved in, the budget. So do you have any other budgetary comments or ideas?
I think we're doing okay, but again, we got a very strong hammer warning about the way things handled this particular. For our case, it was.
I'm sorry, you talking about the VANC update?
Yeah, the VANC for the homeless. Other people is for veterans, and the city clerk's office is saying this is a gift of public funds. You must filter it. If you want to call it money laundering, call it anything you want, but it must be filtered through 501c3.
Okay, we got a confusion. You got to make that clear. So you're saying that the VANC committee was advising your group and such about the gift of public funds. They were talking about
the lady that actually does the controlling for the city clerk's office says she's getting very tough right now. What happened, what broke the camel's back was somebody gave away whole turkeys.
Oh, okay. So the context is giving neighborhood councils gifting groups.
Anybody.
I got you.
Okay. You can't be a
we have a
people.
procedure set in place that who can apply for funding, and
we do, but it's always worth refreshing our memory because, and I'll give you my comment. You have a comment? We're going around the room on our closing
so my understanding
remarks.
is we only fund 501c3s and schools. That's it. So no other entities, no 501c4s. Church can't come to us unless they have a 501c3 program that they're working on, say, to do the food bank or something. But really, we're limited only to 501c, and the application online says that 501c3s are schools. So those are the only organizations we can fund. Within that, they have to make a request. Of course, we know the procedure. I've filled it out many times.
Yeah.
There's a form we fill out and a request form.
There's neighborhood purpose grant, and there's a community impact. The other one.
Yeah. So, and I think most organizations in the community know of these. It may be that the new principal at Rio Vista may not know about it. I don't know. But
We
they pretty much
Carpenter.
so they know pretty much that we have that available to them. So it's nice to know that, and it's nice to know that most of the groups around here, whoever they are,
correct. And I want to
real aware
emphasize,
of it.
you make a good point, and we should reach out regularly to them to remind them that we are here and that we want to collaborate where we do. I've stimulated some interest in the Bucket Brigade, which is LADWP, LAUSD. They give out buckets to talk about water conservancy.
Oh, nice.
Hello, Jeff. We haven't begun yet. We're just at the end.
Yet, but thank you,
At the end of a meeting, so we'll be with you 1 second because we're in. No, sit down, but just let us finish. So the Bucket Brigade thing will be, we'll see if we can get a few kids involved. It's a good area.
Yeah.
And but here's my comment for the end of the budget meeting. I think we should make a big deal, not make a big deal, but promote with plenty of notice a budget meeting so that Mr. Welsh, the treasurer, can come. Because I really would like to get a sense of exactly where we are. And he will do so if given fair notice. Today was completely unfair because it was very fast as we raced to the meeting.
We just needed to get
and nothing fishy about that at all, as we agreed.
I'm not dressed for this meeting.
But I would like to do
I
that.
got so many things to do today.
And so that's my goal for the next budget meeting. I look forward to being with the treasurer so we can get that update. Be sure we're on the right.
Yeah, that would be great.
And so with that, those are my closing comments. I move that we adjourn the meeting and move forward. Well, I'll take care of getting the agenda stuff to Pat.
fine.
Thank you.